the lights burst into brilliance, the stage shimmering with anticipation. Thousands of eyes are fixed on a single figure gliding forward, her silhouette framed by enormous angel wings. Alessandra Ambrosio, the Brazilian beauty who would become one of the most recognizable faces in fashion, emerges as a symbol of desire and perfection. The world knows her as a Victoria's Secret angel, a name engraved in the legacy of 90s Supermodels, even though her rise came slightly after their golden era. She embodied the fantasy, the dream, the unreachable standard. But behind the glittering facade, there is a story that most never see. Alessandra was once a shy girl, plagued by insecurities about her appearance, enduring cosmetic surgery at a painfully young age. Her journey to the throne of fashion was not simply a path of glamour, but one of sacrifice, sleepless nights, loneliness in foreign cities, and the heavy burden of an industry that devours youth and beauty. When she stepped onto the runway with those angel wings, the world held its breath. Yet behind that radiant smile lay tremors of fear, scars of doubt, and the silent struggles of a woman fighting to maintain control in a world obsessed with perfection. Alessandra Ambrosio's story is not merely the tale of a model. It is a journey through light and shadow, where dazzling fame collides with the dark side of fashion, leaving behind questions that linger long after the spotlights fade. Alessandra Ambrosio was born on the 11th of April, 1981, in Arequim, a modest town in the state of Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. There were no glamorous lights, no glossy runways, only red dirt roads, brick houses, and the calm rhythm of a provincial South American town. She grew up in an Italian-descended family where tradition was strict and family ties unbreakable. Her parents, ordinary working-class people, never imagined their daughter would one day be celebrated among the pantheon of 90s Supermodels and their successors. From an early age, Alessandra was different. Taller than her classmates, her sharp features and melancholic eyes set her apart. But instead of admiration, she was often mocked. Other children nicknamed her Big Ears, fueling a deep sense of insecurity. Behind her gentle smile, Alessandra hid a quiet shame, often staring into the mirror, wondering if she could ever be as beautiful as the women in the fashion magazines she secretly admired. At just 11 years old, her obsession with her appearance led her to undergo cosmetic surgery to pin back her ears. It was a shocking decision for such a young girl in a conservative household. But instead of bringing her confidence, the procedure left her with pain, both physical and emotional. She would later recall this as a lesson, that chasing perfection and beauty often comes at a hidden cost, a truth whispered from the dark side of fashion long before she fully entered it. Her childhood was not filled with the carefree joy of other children. Instead, she clung to her dreams of escaping the small town, of walking dazzling runways, of hearing her name celebrated worldwide. Many nights, as the sound of insects filled the quiet Brazilian air, Alessandra lay awake imagining herself in magnificent gowns, bathed in light, adored by millions. At home, her parents were strict and pragmatic. They taught her the value of hard work, urging her not to indulge in foolish dreams. Yet Alessandra's heart burned for a different world, one where beauty was not a burden but a weapon, a source of power. The poverty of her environment, the sting of cruel mockery, and the heavy weight of insecurity forged an unyielding determination in her. Alessandra was no ordinary girl. Even in her darkest moments, there was a hidden fire in her gaze. And within that quiet determination, one could already glimpse the outline of a future angel preparing to spread her wings. At the age of 13, Alessandra Ambrosio enrolled in a local modeling course in Brazil. It was a bold decision for a girl so young, but it marked the beginning of a life that would be anything but ordinary. While her peers played with dolls or dreamed of weekend outings, Alessandra stood before the mirror, practicing her walk, balancing her steps, and learning how to command a gaze. She had no idea how far it would take her. only that fashion seemed like the only escape from the insecurities that had haunted her childhood. Her first true chance came in 1996, when she entered the elite Model Look Brazil competition. At just 15, Alessandra stepped into a dazzling world that was as intimidating as it was thrilling. Bright lights, stone-faced judges, and dozens of flawless girls from across the country surrounded her. Her heart pounded violently as she took her first steps on stage. She trembled, her knees almost buckling under the weight of expectation, and then the spotlight hit her face. In that moment, fear melted away. Confidence surged through her veins. With each step, she drew the eyes of everyone in the room. The judges took note of her deep, haunting gaze and her mix of fragility and wildness. She didn't win first place, but she left an impression that whispered of greatness. Insiders murmured her name, as if sensing the rise of a star. Yet her family did not share in her excitement. Her parents worried that their daughter was far too young to dive into the seductive, treacherous waters of fashion. They feared the temptations, the loneliness, and the loss of innocence. But Alessandra, determined, pleaded her case. This was her dream, she told them. A dream worth every sacrifice. Another turning point came when a local photographer shot Alessandra's first fashion photos. When the images reached modeling agencies, the response was immediate. Here was a girl with an unmistakable beauty, a face made for the camera. Doors that had always seemed distant swung open, and the girl from Marichim was invited into a world that would consume her and transform her. Still, Alessandra remained cautious. She knew every smile, every seductive pose came with pressure. Excitement and fear swirled together inside her, but that paradox only fueled her magnetism. She radiated something raw and unforgettable, a kind of energy that made people lean closer, unwilling to look away. That was the moment her journey became irreversible. Alessandra Ambrosio was no longer just a small-town girl. She was stepping into the lineage of the greats, tracing the footsteps of the 90s Supermodels, while unknowingly preparing to confront the darker truths that lived within the dark side of fashion. By the early 2000s, Alessandra Ambrosio was no longer just a promising face. She had officially ascended into the ranks of international stars. In 2000, she was chosen for a major campaign with Guess, and that golden ticket catapulted her directly into the spotlight. From that moment, Alessandra was everywhere, on glossy magazine covers, striding down prestigious runways, and embodying the kind of dream that only the world of fashion could construct. What set Alessandra apart was her aura. Unlike many of her peers, she did not project coldness or distance. Instead, she radiated a natural sensuality, a warmth rooted in her Brazilian spirit. On the runway, she wasn't simply showing garments. She was telling a story with every glance, every breath, every stride. The audience didn't just watch her, they felt her. That unique charisma quickly made her one of the central angels of Victoria's Secret, a title that would define her legacy. In 2004, Alessandra officially earned her wings. The moment she stepped onto the Victoria's Secret stage, clad in elaborate costumes and glittering lingerie, she transformed from model to legend. Each year, her appearances became more anticipated. From dazzling gemstone wings to bold, sultry sets that pushed the boundaries of fantasy. In 2012, she was chosen to wear the iconic fantasy bra worth $2.5 million, a crown jewel moment in her career, cementing her status as irreplaceable. But Alessandra's reach extended beyond Victoria's Secret. She graced the runways of Chanel, Dolce & Gabbana, Prada, and Oscar de la Renta. She became the face of Vogue, Elle, Harper's Bazaar, Cosmopolitan, and countless more. Every time a new photo shoot of Alessandra was released, it sparked awe. Her elegance paired with the raw, untamed energy of Brazil created something magnetic. Photographers adored her. Legendary lensman Mario Testino once remarked, "The camera was made for Alessandra. She doesn't pose, she lives in front of the lens." This ability to merge authenticity with allure elevated her above the status of a mere model. She became a muse, an icon, an enduring fantasy. During these golden years, Alessandra symbolized perfection. She was the angel, the international star, the dream embodied in human form. Young women idolized her, brands relied on her, and the fashion world bowed to her presence. It was a reign that echoed the timeless power once held by the 90s Supermodels, reminding the world that some beauty transcends eras. And yet, hidden beneath the shimmering fabric and camera flashes were the same pressures that had shadowed her since childhood. Success came with its own chains, the unrelenting demand to remain flawless, the haunting knowledge that even angels cannot stay forever young. For now, though, the world only saw Alessandra Ambrosio, radiant and untouchable, ruling the runway like a goddess. To look at Alessandra Ambrosio merely as a Victoria's Secret angel is to miss what truly made her iconic. What set her apart was not only her beauty, but her unshakable determination to stay true to herself, a resilience that stood out in an industry notorious for molding its models into stereotypes. Early in her career, Alessandra famously turned down lucrative offers to pose nude for men's magazines. The money could have changed her life, but she refused. To her, sensuality wasn't about exposing everything, but about mastering the art of allure. "I want to be remembered as a fashion model, not just a poster on some dorm room wall," she once declared. That refusal defined her boundaries, proving that she was willing to sacrifice short-term fame for long-term respect. Her defiance went even further when she became a mother in 2008. The fashion world whispered that her career was finished. How could a lingerie model remain desirable after childbirth? Alessandra shattered that prejudice. Only a few months after giving birth to her daughter Anja, she returned to the Victoria's Secret runway, breathtaking as ever. The image of her, glowing with confidence, was a cultural reset, redefining what it meant to be a woman, a mother, and a symbol of beauty at the same time. Equally powerful was her pride in her heritage. Though she became a global citizen, striding through the capitals of Paris, Milan, and New York, Alessandra never abandoned her Brazilian roots. She often spoke of how the music, the culture, and the spirit of Brazil shaped her energy. "I carry Brazil in every step I take on the runway," she proudly said. That authenticity gave her something no other model could replicate, a fiery spirit that made her unforgettable. In refusing shallow trends and resisting the easy path, Alessandra carved her own destiny. She would not sell herself cheaply, nor allow the industry to box her into cliches. Her difference lay in her independence, her quiet rebellion, and her ability to balance allure with dignity. This is why Alessandra Ambrosio remains an icon. She wasn't just another angel. She was a woman who made choices, who fought for control over her image, and who redefined what success in fashion could mean. Like the legendary 90s Supermodels, she proved that influence comes not only from beauty, but from character, conviction, and the courage to say no. And perhaps that is her greatest legacy, that in a world built on the fragility of appearance, Alessandra showed strength. She became the embodiment of independence, a symbol of female pride, resilience, and timeless beauty in a world constantly flirting with the dark side of fashion. Fame, at its highest, always casts shadows. For Alessandra Ambrosio, behind the glittering wings and dazzling cameras was a long battle with pressure and invisible fears. Her story of struggle began earlier than most realized. As a teenager, she underwent cosmetic surgery to pin back her ears, an act that left scars both physical and emotional. She would later confess that it was a painful reminder of how fashion and the pursuit of beauty can turn young girls into marionettes for impossible standards. That small scar became a permanent whisper of the dark side of fashion, long before she had conquered it. At the height of her career, Alessandra often faced exhaustion. Endless flights, merciless schedules, and demanding campaigns drained her. She admitted to nights where she lay awake in sterile hotel rooms, the flashes gone, the applause silent, overwhelmed by loneliness so heavy it pressed on her chest. "Loneliness is the price of success," she once revealed, a chilling truth that many in her profession understood but rarely spoke aloud. Time, however, is the cruelest rival. By the 2010 second, a new generation of models began to dominate headlines. The fashion world, relentless in its hunger for youth, started to ask, "Has Alessandra Ambrosio had her time?" Comparisons multiplied, whispers echoed backstage, and every gaze seemed to carry judgment. For a woman whose career had been built on being untouchable, this was a tormenting realization. Then came the announcement in 2017. Alessandra would retire from the Victoria's Secret runway after the Shanghai show. The news sent shockwaves through the industry. For over a decade, she had been one of the defining angels, her presence a tradition as anticipated as the show itself. And just like that, it was over. The press called it the end of an era. Fans mourned, while Alessandra, calm and graceful, bowed out without tears, without theatrics, just silence. Her retreat was not marked by scandal or collapse, but by an acceptance that even angels cannot stay suspended forever. She still appeared in campaigns, still walked a handful of shows, but the brightness of the spotlight had dimmed. Instead, Alessandra chose family, her children, and a quieter life. To the world, it looked like serenity. To some, it felt like loss, and that is the paradox. Alessandra Ambrosio's fall was not a crash but a descent into stillness. There was no sensational scandal, no public disgrace. Instead, there was the quieter tragedy of inevitability. That beauty fades, that crowns are passed on, and that the runway will always hunger for someone new. In that silence, her story became even more haunting. Because sometimes, the saddest truth is not in the scandals that scream, but in the endings whispered softly, where one of fashion's brightest stars steps away, leaving the audience to wonder if the show will ever shine as brightly again. When Alessandra Ambrosio closed her chapter with Victoria's Secret, many thought it was the end of her luminous reign, but in truth, it was a transformation rather than a conclusion. She no longer graced the runway each year with angel wings, yet her name still resonates in the history of fashion as a symbol impossible to erase. What Alessandra left behind was not only the breathtaking images and iconic runway moments, but a message about pride and power. She proved that a model could become a mother without surrendering her career, that a woman could embrace her roots while conquering the world, that beauty could be both sensual and dignified. She turned her Brazilian identity into a strength, carrying her culture into every step, leaving a legacy that reached far beyond lingerie and catwalks. Today, even as younger generations take center stage, the name Alessandra Ambrosio still recalls a golden era, the age when Victoria's Secret angels became global goddesses, and when her presence reminded the world of the timeless influence once held by the 90s Supermodels. Her wings were never just props. They became a metaphor for strength, resilience, and the will to transform pain into power. And yet, one question lingers. If Alessandra Ambrosio were to begin her career today, in a fashion world far more fragmented, far more critical, and far more exposed to the dark side of fashion, would the world still embrace her as an angel? Or has the age of wonder already passed, leaving us only with memories of a dream that once took flight?